good morning.
Rinpoche.
Can you see me?
Good
Can you see
morning,
me?
Rinpoche. I can hear you. Can you make your sound a little bit louder?
It's better now? The
Yeah,
sound is
better
better?
now. I can hear you. I can hear you clearly.
Okay, great. Okay, sorry, I couldn't join on time. There's something, I think the password changed or something, right?
Yes, both the Zoom and the password change for today.
I see. So, okay. So anyway, here. Okay, let's start. Okay. Okay. Let's start with the refuge. Sangye chena tsangye chonam la chanjo bardo dane gyabron daye jeje yebe zenam ye dola benje sangye dobora sho sangye chena tsangye chonam chanjo bardo dane gyabron daye jeje yebe zenam ye dola benje sangye dobora sho sangye chedan zage chanam la chanjo bardo dane gyabron daye jeje yebe zenam ye dola benje sangye dobora sho. Okay, mandala. So Okay, that's great. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Very good to see you again. So this morning, we will be following what we were speaking last week, which is so okay. To begin with, we are studying the bodhicitta and the steps to develop bodhicitta, and in which we are talking about the 6 perfections. And within the 6 perfection, the first of which is the generosity. And within generosity, there are 3 kinds: giving Dharma, giving ordinary the things, and then giving protection from fear. And then of the 3, we are talking about the material giving, the first one. That is what we are covering. We have been covering since last week. So we are covering generosity, giving of material things, and within giving material things, there are ordinary giving, great giving, and extraordinary givings. We are talking about ordinary givings. With that much we covered already. It's a summary of what we covered last week.
Yeah.
So ordinary giving, as the name sounds, it's giving ordinary things. So here, when we say ordinary, we are talking about everything that we normally we say that's my belonging. From small thing as my food, whether it's leftover or fresh food, to big things such as your money and including your money and things like that. So basically, things that we usually give to charity, these are the ordinary things. And then when we talk about great giving, this is something it's quite difficult for you to give, such as your house, let's say an expensive car, something that belonged to the family, and it's been passed down to the family. You hold very dear to and so on and so forth like that. Yeah. So mainly speaking, practicing of generosity has twofold benefits, mainly two benefits. One is by giving. When you make generosity, engage in generosity, you are giving something, whether in Tibetan we say to give up, to give to the higher ups or the lower downs. Basically, what that means is when you make offering to the three jewels and the deities, that's giving up to the to the offering to the ups, the higher ones, and then lower ones means like to the beggar, to the disprivileged, and all sort of like that. Basically, when you give, there's only two people to give up or give down. So whenever you give, when you give to those who are lower than you accumulate merit. Because they really needed it, and then you make offering, you give them. That's how you help them, and also when you make offering to the higher ones, such as the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, even though they may not necessarily require the material gifts that you are offering them, you accumulate merit by engaging in the purity. The purity of your thought. Actually, that's what counts the most. That's why by offering to the Buddhas or offering to the poor, both makes an immense accumulation of merit. Yeah. Another main benefit of practicing in generosity is that you develop a practice, or you train yourself to practice in detachment. Okay, so why? Because as a Dharma practitioner, in general, attachment is not good. In life, also, attachment is not good. And especially if you are in a Dharma practitioner, then attachment is very bad. That if you have attachment, normally the attachment that we have, that we are used to, is attachment to materialistic thing. Whether it's a person or a thing, it's always material. It's always physical. And so when we attach to those things, it actually slows us down in our spiritual practices. So therefore, by engaging in generosity, we train ourselves in the practice of detachment. So that these are the two main benefits, main reason why we practice in the generosity. The sixth perfection. The first one is generosity, and that's one of the main reasons why generosity is the Dharma practitioner. It's important for you to have detachment. So when people usually talk about generosity, they think about just giving an offering and then accumulating merit alone. But that's not just the case. There's another benefit, main reason, main purpose is to train oneself in detachment. So once we train ourselves in detachment of materialistic things and things like that, then we our body, not our body, but ourselves, we become more prepared to embark, to go on the spiritual journey. I think I shared this story in the past. It's related to generosity. So there was this story. It's a real tale from Tibet, not very long ago, maybe 100 years ago or so. Okay, not even less than that, maybe 60, 70, 80 years ago, like that. So what happened was there was a lady from upper class, nobility, a noble lady, a lady who belonged to the noble class, and she was very, very stingy. Okay, she doesn't. She's very wealthy, but she doesn't share with anybody. She doesn't share even with her own children or her own siblings, etc. What happened was, of course, she in the beginning she doesn't see that as a flaw, as a fault, but later she began to see that as a fault, and she wanted to resolve that, and then she cannot do anything about it because it's been her habit for so long, and then she's having a hard time, and then she met one Rinpoche. I think that is the teacher of His Holiness, His Holiness's teacher. So maybe like the teacher of His Holiness's teacher. So about that generation. So not very long ago. So yeah, she met him, and she asked solution from him, how to develop generosity, how to how to learn detachment, like that. Yeah. So she asked the Rinpoche how to resolve this, and because she could not part away with anything. Anything she give to somebody, she wants to take it back. She doesn't want to part away anything, and so that Rinpoche, that teacher, he provided a solution. So the solution, I think I shared to you before. So what he said was, okay, hold something in your right hand, okay, like, okay, whatever it was some precious jewelry or something. So hold it in your right hand and then slowly give it to your left hand, like that. And then after some time, just be aware of the thought that you are giving it. So right hand is giving to the left hand, and slowly the left hand is giving to the right hand, and then one by one. So you train in that, like that. So she trained for a couple of days, couple months, like that. Slowly and slowly she became better and better. So that's how, through skillful means, the master, the teacher, was able to make her better in giving. And later, after a couple years, she became a very, very, very generous sponsor, very generous contributor to the poor, to the temple. Like, she began to offer, like, basically she began to learn how to detach herself from all the materialistic goods, like that. So if you're following the book, in English, the book is on page number 235, and we are around the middle of the paragraph. So there is a passage from Milarepa, which says, dig out food from your own mouth and give it as alms. So basically, you give something. Okay, generally you can give anything. You can give anything, any small thing you can give. You accumulate merit. That's good thing, right? But if you want to engage in the practice of generosity as prescribed in the 6 perfections, then you should learn to give things that actually mean dear to you, actually mean something to you, such as taking out the food from, if you are eating some food, something you are eating on your table, and then someone comes and begs for food or whatever, then you should be ready, prepare yourself, train yourself to give food to them. It's not like, okay, just go away. I will give you whenever I can. I have the leisure and I could do that. I will give, not now, like that. That is, so generally speaking, you can give it anytime. But if you want to engage in the practice of generosity as prescribed in the 6 perfection, then you should be ready to give out something that actually means something to you. If you give out something that doesn't mean something to you, or actually you're actually giving somebody someone your own garbage or burden, you're not really doing a generosity. Yeah. So here it says so I'm just following the text. In the last paragraph, it says, generally speaking, the Buddha taught material giving and other practices involving material possessions, mainly for lay bodhisattvas, non-monks. And if you are a monk or a nun, the important thing is to simply reduce your desires, to learn to be content with whatever you have, and to practice the threefold training of the higher path with determination in mountain hermitages and solitary places, gladly accepting all hardships. So here we are talking about, as a family, as a lay devout practitioner, as a lay person, you have your familial responsibilities. So you have to take care of your family, and basically you have family related responsibilities. So in order to do so, you will require a lot of things in your life. But as a monk, you live by yourself, so you should start to do away with all of those distractions from the very beginning, right? For a lay person, you have to acquire all those things first, and then slowly you start to give away and practice in generosity and detachment. But for a monastic, you start right away, because you have the ability to do so. You have the opportunity, the privilege to do so. And then I'm following the text. So it's on the next page. Some practitioners abandon their spiritual practice to involve themselves in trade, agriculture, or other means of livelihood, and pile up wealth through cunning and trickery. They maintain that they are practicing Dharma through the offerings and charitable gifts they make with what they have gained. But it is of such people that it is said. So there's a quote: when Dharma is not practiced according to Dharma, Dharma itself can cause evil rebirth. So this quote is from the sutra, but the Buddha's own teaching. So basically, it's referring to the fact that so here, some practitioners, it's not just monastics, not just monks, but anyone who profess to be practitioner, who profess to be Dharma practitioners, but then make a livelihood in the name of the Dharma, because everybody, a large number of the public have faith in the Dharma, and then when they have faith in the Dharma, then you profess yourself to be a Dharma practitioner, a master, or this or that, and then basically you trick them, you trick the people to make offerings and things like that, and then you yourself engage in trickery and cheating and all sort of that, and then make money in the name of Dharma. So this, the Buddha himself said in the sutras that when the Dharma is not practiced according to Dharma, then the Dharma itself can become the cause of evil rebirth, can become the cause of negative actions. So in the end, they say that their approach is absolutely worthless. It is most important, therefore, to be always satisfied with what one has. So, as a spiritual practitioner, it's important to learn contentment. Yeah, and then someone who is not someone who is not trained or disciplined in contentment, it is worthwhile to learn that by engaging in generosity. Yeah. So when we talk about giving material things, sometimes there is also a story during Buddha's time where one person asked the Buddha, "I'm so poor, I have nothing to eat myself. Sometimes many days I go hungry and so on and so forth, and I have nothing to give. And you, Buddha, talk about the importance of generosity, but I'm so poor and nothing to give. So what should I give? I'm so much devoted to the Dharma, but I cannot practice because I have nothing to give." And then the Buddha said, "You have the two legs and two hands and your face, so you can give your smile to people who are, feeling lonely. You can give your hands to help support people up. You can give your feet to run errand for people who cannot walk, etc." So basically, we have, no matter how much we think we don't have, we still have a lot to give. And at the very least, we can always give good thoughts to people. As I mentioned in the beginning, so this covers the ordinary giving, and then next comes the great giving. I already explained the great giving is giving something very rare, something very precious, something very dear to you, such as so in the book, it talks about the horse and elephant, because at those days there was no car. So horse and elephant, something, a materialistic belonging, such as your horse or your elephant, which is in today's time would be like a car or a boat or a aeroplane, something that if you're very rich. So these are what it's referring to. Or even your own children you can offer like that. These are the great givings. Then also it talks about giving your own children, your son or your daughter or your wife or your husband. So this can be in to look at it from today's perspective, it can be very controversial even. Like it's not even, I mean, in today's time, we talk about a daughter and my children, my wife, they have their own individual rights, and then how can I give them to someone else? That says I don't own them. They are not my belongings. They're not my materialistic things. So this is something unthinkable in today's time. but we have to look at it from from a certain time when it may be controversial. It may seem controversial, and it may seem difficult to understand from today's point of view. But what we are trying to understand here, the gist, the main point here, is that something as dear as your own children. Usually, people, say like, okay, I can do anything for my children. I can give up my own life, but I cannot give up my children, like that. So basically, the attachment to your family members, to especially your children, is so strong for us, sometimes even stronger than the love or attachment for ourselves even. So this is a training to detach that one. That's why it's a form of training, and it's also called a great giving. So it's not for the ordinary, not for the faint-hearted. So that is the second one, great giving. And the last one is the exceptionally great giving. And so, as I said earlier, this refers to giving you something not just personal to you, but something that is from your person, from your body, from your physical, such as your limbs, your body, and etc., etc. So to do this, to willingly give away, your life, to willingly. And normally, when we do, there's a difference here when we say something like, okay, my life is so, going so bad, and I don't want to live anymore. I just want to give up my life. So that is give up. It's not giving. This is the give up. Is like you no longer want to continue to live. You no longer have the determination to live. You're no longer excited to live. You no longer have any of the basically you don't have the excitement. You don't have, there is no positive outlook on giving up your life. That is what we talk about, giving up life in normal circumstances. Here, when we say the great living, the great giving, the exceptionally great giving, when we talk about giving up your limbs or your life, we are not talking about giving up your life out of desperation or without any determination or no excitement. Here we are so excited, we are so determined, we are so happy to offer our body. So there's a difference here. There is so much excitement, there is so much positivity here when we make the offering of our bodies. And this practice is something only reserved for those with the biggest heart, meaning someone who is courageous enough, someone who is, like, as I said, you are ready and you should be prepared and you should be happy to do it, right? Not like my life is in so much desperation, so out of desperation and out of with the will to live, without the will to live, giving up your life and making suicide. This is not what it refers to. So here we are talking about someone very, very happy to give you one's life in dedication to someone else or something else in order to practice in generosity. One very much willingly and happily and excitedly gives one's life as an offering, like that. So, and also your limbs. So can be practiced only by a bodhisattva, only by not just a normal practitioner, but a practitioner from a great level of discipline, such as a bodhisattva, and not an ordinary bodhisattva. It is actually prescribed only for the bodhisattva who has at least reached one of the 10 levels of the bodhisattva grounds. The first level, at least one has to reach that level. Yeah. So for monastics, for monks, even for monks, we are restricted to practice this generosity, the third one, the exceptionally great giving. We can practice in the ordinary and the great giving, but we are restricted from doing the exceptionally great giving practice. The reason, because when we engage in especially the giving of life, giving of body, when you give your body, basically you give your life. So when you give your life, then you die. And then especially if you have not reached a certain level of confidence in where you will be, where to direct your forthcoming life, your next life. If you're not very sure, if you have no control over where you will be born in your next life, then if you engage in such a practice, you die, then you be born in a lower realm, and then you are stuck there for thousands of eons, and then you will be deprived from the opportunity to practice the Dharma, to meet great teacher. Basically, you will be deprived from so many, the methods to be liberated. So therefore, it's restricted for us to practice in the last one, the exceptionally great giving. Yep. So, so even though it's restricted, there are many great practitioners who still do it against the rules, restrictions like that. And there are some stories I will share later. So meanwhile, what we can do right now is we can mentally offer or give our bodies and our limbs and our parents, our children. So there's a stage, okay? There's a step. Like we don't start from the end. We start from the beginning. If we start from the end, then everything is going to be messy. So we start from the beginning, step by step. We give as what we could, and so that is a great practice for us to engage in detachment as well as accumulating merit through generosity. So meanwhile, at the moment, at the current moment, we can engage in the for the material goods, small things that we can actually give away. We can give them physically, and those that we could not part away or right away, we could give them mentally, spiritually, like that, such as your body, your siblings, your family members, etc., etc. So it's not something that we should start right away, but have that in your mind in the future. Yeah. So here in the book, the book actually refers to the story of some of the great examples of generosity, generosity in terms of the exceptionally great giving. So one of the very popular one is that from the previous lives of Lord Buddha when he was prince. So it's called the 1,000 life 1,000 life births, or 1,000 births of the Buddha. So we usually call them 1,000 births of the Buddha. There's 500 pure births and 500 impure births, and this one is part of the pure births. So what is pure birth? What is impure birth? And what is the 1,000 lifetime we are talking about? Basically, our previous life is innumerable. We cannot say our life started this, then, like that. Our life is beginningless. So when we say 1,000 lifetime, we are talking about ever since someone has generated the bodhicitta, an authentic bodhicitta for the very first time, then how many lifetimes you have taken, how many lifetimes you have taken to reach enlightenment. So this is what we're talking about. So in Buddha Shakyamuni's term, there has been 1,000, and when he was born as an animal or someone from a very poor background, etc., it's called the impure birth. And when he was born as a prince, a scholar, etc., it's called the pure birth. Anyway, so there's 1,000 previous births of the Buddha. There's a story. There is a book on the detailing all the 1,000 births of the Buddha. So in this particular book, there was the story of the prince whose name is the great. The prince's name is Great Courage, who gave his body to save a starving tigress who has 5 cubs, like that. So the story is like this. I think I shared this one time already, so I'll just make it short. So as it very normal for royal members in those days, the prince and his entourage were traveling the forest, and then they kind of got lost, and then the prince was by himself alone, and then he heard some wailing, some crying, and then he went to find out that there were 5 cubs who did not get any milk from the mother. There was one tigress lying almost near death, because she couldn't hunt and she couldn't find food, so she was like almost dying, and she couldn't give milk. and the cubs were crying for milk and etc. And the prince, he was so motivated. He was deeply motivated by that. Then he approached the tigress and gave him his flesh. But the tiger is so poor, so weak that she couldn't pounce, she couldn't bite, do anything. So then what the prince did was he plucked one of the leaves lying around. So it's actually a very sharp leaf that has like a saw-like edge, and then brought that leaf and then cut his own flesh. And when he cut the flesh, the blood sprout out, and the blood actually went into the tigress's mouth. He just like pouring water. He poured his blood into the tigress's mouth, and slowly, with the smell of the blood, the tiger began to gain his appetite and his strength, and slowly she began to eat the prince like that. So that was the story, and that prince happened to be one of the earlier births or lives of Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. And this place is actually nowadays in today's Nepal. Yeah, and then another story in the Dharma, in the book here, refers to the Nagarjuna giving his head to the son of the king Surabhibhadra. So Nagarjuna is a great scholar, great master, not just a scholar, but a great master practitioner. And he was very important for the preservation and for the development, for the promulgation, for making popular the Mahayana teachings. So before that, even though the Mahayana teachings were practiced, but it's it's not widely known in the public. Everybody just practice all sorts of Dharma practice, and they don't refer to this as Mahayana or this or that. So he is the one who make the Mahayana practice very much popular, and he is a great scholar from the monastic University of Nalanda in India. So which is like the Harvard or the Stanford of those days, like that. So what happened? So Nagarjuna is not just a great scholar and good monk, but he was also a great tantric practitioner, and he is a bodhisattva who has reached level 8. Okay, the eight bhumi already. That time he already reached the 8 bhumi, and he already reached the 9th bhumi by that time. 9th bhumi. So the before then the 10th, then you become the Buddha. So what happened was the story is that King Surabhibhadra's son, okay, King Surabhibhadra's son, he one day his mother brought him a very beautiful cloth, a royal cloth, royal uniform. And the king and the son was very happy that his mother brought him that. And then he said, when I grow up and when I become the king and when I sit on the throne, then I will wear this. I will not wear it today. It's so good. And then the mother started to cry. And she said, and the son asked, why are you crying, mom? And she said, that will never happen. You will never become the king of this country, this kingdom. And the reason is because your father will never die. And then he asked, why your father will never die? And that's because your father actually took the what we call the lifelong initiation, long life initiation with the great tantric master Nagarjuna, and they sort of made a pact. So Nagarjuna and your father both will not die. So only way for your father to die is to make Nagarjuna die. Your father will not die because he decided not to die. He took the initiation, he took the long life initiation and all that. So he has no desire to die for sure. But Nagarjuna, because he is a Buddhist monk, you can how do you call that? You can ask him, request him to die on your behalf. And because he is a monk, he may agree to practice of generosity. And if he does that, if Nagarjuna dies, then your father will also die, like that. So that was the story. And so Nagarjuna eventually gave up gave into the request by the son, and the Nagarjuna died, and the son, the father also died, like that. So it's not just to fulfill the wish of the child, the prince, the little prince. The real reason behind was Nagarjuna, of course, doesn't want the king to live forever, because if a king lives forever, then the king has different intention and like that. So why he took the long life initiation with the king? Yeah, at that time it was necessary, and so they took the long life together. But then also he knows that in the future that king will have to die, so the Nagarjuna just let it be. So in any case, so Nagarjuna, the reason Nagarjuna accept the boy's request was but then when the boy asked him to die, then he checked as to is there any because in order to he need to practice generosity, he need to purify his negativity, etc., like that. So he checked, is there any negativity left ever in his previous life that he has not purified yet? So when he checked that, he found out that long time ago, maybe like tens of thousands of eons ago, he accidentally he was cutting the grass, and while doing so, when he was pulling the grass, then he accidentally, without his knowledge, he actually plucked the head of one small bug while doing so. So he found out that negativity is there. Even though it's a minor negativity, because you did it without the proper knowledge. So even if it's not minor knowledge, that impurity is still there, that negative is still there to purify. So he agreed to the son to cut his head. So it is said that his head and his body were separated. And so there are many legends. This is not really like, in the books itself, but like it's a legend. So they say that his head and his body are separated for about in two different planets, and then they are getting closer and closer every year. And during the time of the Maitreya Buddha, the future Buddha, Nagarjuna's head and body will come together, and then Nagarjuna will continue to teach like he did before, during or right after Shakyamuni Buddha's time. So this part is legend, okay? So before that is actually very much in the Dharma text. Yeah. So I just shared the legend as well. So these are okay. After this, I will take in questions. Okay. So after this, in the book, they talk about giving your life, giving things away to practice in generosity. Okay. So this is a very kind of even though it seems extraordinary, but it's a little bit ordinary from a Dharma practice perspective. I will share another story, which is actually not about giving life, but taking life for the sake of sentient beings. Okay, so this is a little bit extraordinary. Yeah, and maybe this is related more to the second practice, third practice, which is effort, diligence, rather than generosity itself. Anyway, I will just share it, so then I don't have to say it again next time. So there was this is during the seventh Dalai Lama's time. And there was a great geshe. He was a clairvoyant, because that means he can read people's mind. And he is a great practitioner. He's a bodhisattva too. Bodhicitta practitioner. So he's a great geshe. So what happened was he went to one, he went to, house blessing in one particular family, in a Tibetan family. And then while he was doing the practices, he was doing all this thing for them. And then he found out that the family has one yak. Okay, that yak has served that family for so long, and with such a pure heart and intention, and then it has gained some merit, and it happens to be this yak. This happens to be the last life of that yak, as an lower life, as an yak, as an animal. So from the next life, next rebirth would be that of a human being, like that. So the geshe, the master found that out. Yeah. So he found out, because he can read people's mind. So he found out that the bull, the yak, was very discipline. I'm sorry, very helpful to the family. But he's getting old, and because he's getting old now, so the family is also not taking very care for him and like that. So he is now starting to have doubt as to the he's starting to lose love for the family, and he's actually thinking of taking revenge for the family, that he will take life. Maybe that Yak will kill the owner and the children and the family, because they, even though he's so good to them, they don't take care of him well. So he will take their life, like that. So he's thinking of that. And then if he does that, then he creates more negative karma to remain in samsara, to remain in an animal life, lower life, for more, for many eons more. So seeing that, so the geshe decided to do something about it. Yeah. So the geshe went to the cow shed, to the cow shed, and then he actually took the life of the yak. He killed the yak, and of course everybody was so shocked, and yeah, they're all right. And then they began to talk bad about the geshe and etc. And they also reported it to the seventh Dalai Lama and said etc. But then the seventh Dalai Lama actually explained that the geshe is not an ordinary monk. He actually can see the future, can see people's thought, and the reason he did that was to save the cow, the yak, from having a negative rebirth once again. So because he took the life of the yak now, so the yak just died, and his life as a animal was shortened, and then he was immediately, because he has a small negative thought, but he didn't commit any negative deed yet. So he was able to, with this positive thought, he could actually transfer to a human life right away, and then he was born as a human being. That's what the seventh Dalai Lama explained to the people who reported to him. And because of the negative deed that the geshe did, because the geshe killed an animal, so after he died, he was born in the hell realm. And because his motivation, his intention was so pure, it is even in order to save someone, he's ready to go to hell. He's ready to suffer the consequences of taking someone's life. Because of the power of the bodhicitta, he got back from the hell, from the lower life, immediately, like a bouncing of a ball. So this is spoken, in the Dharma text, not in this book, but in generally we talk about this. Yeah, and this is more in line to diligence practice, which we will cover in the coming weeks. Yeah. Okay, so this concludes the teaching, and next week teaching will be on giving the Dharma. And then there's one question which I saw in the messages, so I will pick that up.
Rinpoche, I also have a question about the blood donation, because we often donate our blood, and sometimes we donate our body organ, for example, the kidney, or even the lung, or even the eye for the dying patient. So what should we do, and in which way we can do it effectively? Yeah, Rinpoche.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hong. So I think your question is similar to the one that's already in the text. So the question was, it's the movement to donate organs to others when we have an unfortunate accident and so on. So it's very popular. It's happening. It's a lot. And then will it have any effect on our consciousness if we do that? When someone passes away, we give away their organs. Will it have a effect? Will it affect our consciousness for our consciousness to pass to transfer to a better life, etc., etc.? So that is the question. And please explain from the Dharma's perspective on that. So that was the question. So it's related to what you were just asking. Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. So okay. So you just asked about giving blood and this kind of thing. So these things, there is no, generally speaking, giving your organs, giving your blood, all these things has no effect on your consciousness, on your spiritual practices, not so whatsoever. But also you have to think, like when you give, for example, if you give blood, you should give like sufficient blood. You should keep sufficient blood within yourself. If you give blood and you feel sad, I mean, you feel sick, and then you later regret, oh, I shouldn't have given this blood, because now I'm sick because of giving this blood. Then all the good things that you have done is sort of reversed. So it doesn't like it's backfired. So it doesn't work. So it's always give something that you could give, something that you are always part away with things that you are capable of doing so, and gradually increase them if you can. So that's the most important first thing. Yeah. Yeah. So in normal circumstances, you can give, you can donate, you can give, you can engage in organ donation or blood donation, all these practices at any time in normal circumstances. Okay. So
Yeah.
now we go to the crux of the matter, which is can we give these things during the death? Okay. So there are two types of death. There is normal, ordinary, peaceful death, where you just die on your bed slowly. And then there's the sudden death, such as accident, right? Car crash, this and that, dying in a like killed, murdered by someone. Basically, sudden death, unexpected death, and then expected death, or something that you are looking for. Um, so uh, um, so when it's a sudden death, like a car crash or this kind of death, then the consciousness and the body are separated right away. Okay, so when you die during a car crash, okay, when you're doing a car, okay, of course, right after having a car crash, you may not die. The paramedics will come and fetch you to the hospital and then check. There are some things like that, but then in case you die from a car crash or a sudden death, like this kind of thing, then your death, the consciousness and the body are separated at the moment of uh, clinically pronounced death. So this is the difference between the death as known in the Dharma and death known as in the clinic, in the clinical terms, right? So when you are declared clinically death after having an accident or sudden death, then your body and your mind, the consciousness, are immediately separated. So you can give those donations right away. Yeah. So in a normal circumstance, when you pass away in a normal circumstances, not in a sudden or unexpected death, then even though you may be declared clinically dead, you're not necessarily dead from the Dharma perspective. Okay, so what remains is what we usually call in Tibetan we say we call this the outer breathing and the inner breathing. So basically, the more coarse, gross level of breathing or the breathing is no more there. Like if you think someone is dead, when you put your finger to their nose, there's no movement. I mean, there's no breathing and anything. But even though there's no such thing, movement, but inner breathing sometimes remain there. So it depends on the person. If the person is a great practitioner, he will engage in because at the time of death, all the five senses, the ears, all these things, the ear, the eyes, all these things stop working. So the only thing that works is the sixth sense. So in this case, it's a very there's no distraction from the fifth sense, five senses, and then you can dedicate yourself fully to your whatever mode of meditation or practice you are doing in before your death. You can actually engage in that, and that's what a lot of masters engage in. At the time of death, they stay in this kind of practice, which in Tibetan we call it tuk tam, which is basically meditative death. So they stay in this for 3 days, 5 days, 1 week, 1 month, like that. Yeah, that's the. In such cases, if they are staying in a tukdam, if they are staying in that meditative death, so they are not death. They are just clinically death, but actually the consciousness is still in there. So in such cases, you don't move the body. Yeah. So in such cases, we of course not, let alone take out the organs. We don't even touch them. We don't even move them. I mean, not touch. Like we may touch a little bit here, there, if we need to, like reposition things, but we don't move them do any hard moves, let alone cutting the body and then doing the organ donation. None of that is, can be done. And then on top of that, in our tradition, we don't let any incense or songs be burned near that person, because that actually have an influence on their, even though their nasal, the nose is like kind of completely gone, but if you have very strong odor and smell, it can actually open up the nostrils, and then they can smell a little bit, and then they can wake up from their meditation, and then they just die. And also we don't play the bell, the vajra and the bell. We don't play the bell, etc., like that. So when a person passes away, we do all the practice. If you have to do any practice with bell, you do it in the different room, not in the same room, like that. So there are those things that we do. Yeah. Yeah. So next, I will share how to check if the person is actually dead or just clinically dead. Yeah. Yeah. So one important thing is so it's difficult to tell whether it's a tuktam or not. The reason is just because someone is not dead, even though they are clinically dead, but the inner breath is still in there, does not mean that they are in tuktam. Okay. Just because someone is in the inner breath is still in there after being declared clinically dead, they can still it doesn't necessarily mean that they are in a tuktam. So tuktam and inner breathing is different. So I'll explain a little bit. So in any case, when the inner breath is still there, what happens is your body is still very nimble. When you die, the body is stiff, cannot move. But alive, you can move nimble. So when the inner breath is still there, meaning he's not dead, clinically dead, but inside the consciousness still there, the body is very nimble. And then if you usually press your body like this, then the flesh will come back up, right? When you totally dead, then when you press it, it doesn't come up like that. So normal person, it will come up, it bounces back like so like that. So there are two cases when the inner breath is there. Okay, inner breath meaning the consciousness still there. One is if you are totem practitioner, if you are a great meditator, and you die, you will have the inner breath still there. Your consciousness will still be there. Another case is you are not a practitioner, you are a very, very normal human being, nothing to do with that all. And it's quite common in today's world. When you, at the time of death, you have a very, very, very strong sense of attachment or hatred. Okay. So even though you're physically dead, internally, your mind, mentally, or consciousness still attached to this body and doesn't want to leave. In such cases, the same things will happen. So your body will no longer be stiff. It will still be nimble. It will still bounce back. So basically, the consciousness still there. Consciousness still there does not mean it's a good thing. Okay. So you have very strong the attachment or hatred. You will also have the same symbol, same signs will be there. So it's difficult to tell whether it's a tuktam or just attachment. Yeah. So this is not very long ago. This is during the time of the Dalai Lama's teacher, the junior teacher, Trijang Rinpoche's time. Basically, it's in Tibet. So what happened? There was one geshe. He's a great master. He has many students, a lot of followings, very popular like that. And then he passed away. He died, and then he lived in that tuktam-like state for a very long time, about a month or so. And the students were kind of worried. I mean, they have no idea what to do. And they approached the Dalai Lama's teacher, the younger teacher, Trijang Rinpoche, and asked him what to do. And then he was not amused. He was not surprised at all. He told the students, just tell the geshe, just tell your teacher that the tea leaves, the tea leaves in the Pure Land are much more tastier than the ones in your cupboard. Yeah. So what actually happens was the geshe was very popular, so they have many devotee, and some of the Chinese devotee, they offered very good the high quality tea, and he was actually attached to the tea during his death, and he couldn't leave his body. His consciousness was still in that body, he was not in a tukdam, but he was still, the consciousness is still in the body. It's stuck there. And because of the attachment, strong attachment he has for the tea leaves. So when his student went to him and said, the teacher of the Dalai Lama says, the tea leaves in the Pure Land are much more tastier than the ones in your cupboard. Then immediately he released his consciousness left, and then he could actually transfer to the next life like that. Yeah. So we can tell it's a tuktam. It's very difficult. There are some signs, but the signs for tuktam and just for attachment is very similar. The one thing that we can tell is from the glow from the face, the radiance from the face, and the person will actually look more majestic than when he was alive. So when the person usually die, when you die like a normal death, you become very weak and just kind of like crumble. But when you are in the tuktam state, your body actually starts to gain more strength, and then even though you're not moving and nothing, you start to have more radiance. You look very much alive, actually stronger and more livelier than alive than when you were alive before, before you were declared clinically dead. So these are some of the signs, because you are engaging in the tuktam in a meditative state. So there is a lot of great bliss, that you are enjoying, from which you have that radiance. When you are attachment, you are actually, there's no enjoyment here. You are just stuck. Your consciousness cannot escape the body. You are stuck there. So there, even though the body is still nimble and all the movement is still there, but the body doesn't have that sort of like glow and radiance, and you have to take care of it. But when the tuktam is going on, you don't have to take care of it at all. It becomes more and more radiant like that, more glorious. So back to the question. As long as the consciousness is still there, you cannot give the organ donation, because that would be harmful. Okay, it will affect the consciousness, of course. So that's the question, right? Whether they are in a tuktam state or whether they are in an attachment state, you don't do the organ donation when they are in that state. And how you wake up someone, how you detach the person from their tuktam or their attachment state like that. So there are, as I said earlier, if you burn very strong incense, very 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 strong smelling incense, then the consciousness will depart from the body. Then playing the bell, the bell will also wake up the person like that. So if you do it like continuously for some time like that, if it's your teacher or someone who is a good practitioner that you know of, and then you want to, and he or she is in a meditative state, tuktam state, for a very long time, and you want to wake him up and like that, then you can actually ask him that may all your spiritual wishes materialize very soon, and then please leave now and then come back and practice further like that. You can request them, and then you can play some bells, or you can burn some incense. And then there's some text to read also. There's something called the Bodhisattva Chaya Avatar, the way of the Bodhisattva, which you can read. And then there's a tantra called the Tantra of the Goya Samaja Tantra, the king of the tantras. So these books can be read, and then that person can depart. This is strictly, this in regards to if the person is like in a meditative state like that. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Rinpoche. Yeah.
Yeah. Ngewa di nyodo da lama sangye chobyoro jowa je kyang ma le ban te sala gebara sho. Next. Zhangzhou semzhou renpo che ma ye pa na ma ge gyuru ge ba nyam ba me ba ra yang gong ne gong de pe wa ra shu mi ai de we de re jen jen re si Boy, boy, John, do, boy, my, do, John, my, this, I will not, non, jing, boy, can, so, no, boy, so, I, be, shy, lie, so, why, dear. Lo boy sai tai pe jai lai soi ma de me yin bo je me be ma shi na ma do yu gen ma chang chu lo san che ye yan zi chou bin do ten yan zhou de nan bo lo so wo
Jalan.
Have a good weekend. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.